Hello and welcome to Why Wasn't It Better? I am your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton.
Today we're talking about Presumed Innocent, a best-selling legal thriller, an A-list cast led by Harrison Ford, and a director with a string of Oscar-nominated hits. Presumed Innocent is a moody courtroom drama. We're going to break down the contrivances, the implausible legal maneuvering, and why the story's biggest twists may not entirely work. And here, to help us break down Presumed Innocent, is a very special guest, Jay Skipworth. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Jay.
Patrick, Anton, thanks so much for having me on, specifically to talk Presumed Innocent. I'm really pumped about this one and glad to be on this side of the fence. We really enjoyed having you guys on Film Strip to talk The Golden Child not that long ago. So good times to be here. And this is a personal favorite of mine through the years, but it's been a while since I revisited it. So we'll get into all of that today.
It is for me as well. You took some of the words out of my mouth, Jay, but in a good way. I was going to say, for the listeners, Anton and I appeared on Jay's podcast, the Film Strip podcast, earlier this year. And Jay, this is your opportunity to tell our listeners, if they are not familiar already, about yourself and the podcast that you host.
And what episode featured us?
Yes, indeed. I appreciate that, guys. I'm one of the three main co-hosts of Film Strip podcast. That's just what you search for wherever you get your pods. And we've been around for 15 years now. So we've covered a little bit of everything at one time or another. But my co-host Ron and Lindsay and I like to have folks like yourselves on and sometimes just talk movies ourselves. And our whole idea is we're just going to sit around the table like we're just sitting at at home or whatever with a deck of cards and talking about a movie and going through all the different little pieces of it. And you guys appeared on episode 425, The Golden Child, back in July of 2025 with us. That had been on our list for a long time. Like every good podcaster, we have sort of the running list of what we want to do. And I decided, hey, you know what? Let me toss that out there. I think I gave you two choices. It was either that or the Alec Baldwin, The Shadow. And you ran very quickly to The Golden Child and maybe regretted it. But
I did not regret it. It was fun to talk about.
Yeah, fun to talk about, fun to enjoy the watching experience too.
Yeah, we try to have fun on the show and everything. But yeah, we're like I said, been around a good while and just enjoyed talking movies with each other, talking movies with our friends. And I'm excited to be on this show. I discovered you guys back December of last year. Honestly, I was looking for podcasts to sort of stack up because I was getting ready to do a little road trip and I knew I would want some things to listen to. And y'all had covered a lot of stuff I was into, which is a lot of James Bond and things like that. So I just ran through a bunch and then we ended up connecting and, glad that we did that and excited to be here to talk about this one.
Love to hear it. It's always fun to watch movies, but talking about them is usually even more fun. And I think this will be no exception because myself and you, Jay, are very familiar with this film. You mentioned this is a favorite of yours. It is for me as well. Anton was a first-timer for Presumed Innocent. And I always love those perspectives. Most of the movies we cover, even when it's guests, it is a movie that we're all usually pretty familiar with. But once in a while, we get this gem where either myself or Anton or the guest hasn't seen it before. And in some ways, I'm jealous because a lot of these movies, I almost wish I could go back and see for the first time.
Yeah, the first instinct I had after seeing this film was this really could have been Michael Douglas too. All respect, of course, to Harrison Ford, but man, was this the Michael Douglas category of the 90s, getting horned up and almost ruining his life?
Yeah, definitely fits into that genre.
Yeah. So, the sex scene would have been longer, but yes, it easily could have been Michael Douglas. Could you argue Rusty Savage does ruin his life? He doesn't come close. I think he does.
Oh yeah.
I would argue he ruined it when he had the affair to begin with. And this is just the spiraling out of it. Yeah. And having read the book and then subsequently read the second book in the Savage series called Innocent, I can confirm that, yes, he indeed ruined his life.
So a quick bit of admin before I intro this film for us. As always, we want to thank everyone for listening. If you are new to the podcast, please give us a follow. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing. Every follower matters. We would encourage you to comment on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, wherever you are listening or watching or both. We're on all the social medias, Instagram, X, and best of all, Letterboxd. You can see our full list of films there that we are eventually going to cover. Links to all of those are in the description. And of course, if you really like what we're doing and you want to keep the mics on for us, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/WWIB podcast. You can support the show directly, get access to episodes a full week early and ad-free, plus some bonus content. And yeah, that's it for the admin. Without further ado, the film's tagline today is "Some people would kill for love." Rusty Sabich is a deputy prosecutor engaged in an obsessive affair with a coworker who is murdered soon after he is accused of the crime. And his fight to clear his name becomes a whirlpool of lies and hidden passions. Presumed Innocent was released on July 27th, 1990 by Mirage Enterprises. It was distributed by Warner Brothers. It was directed by Alan J. Pakula, or Pakula, depending on where you're from. The screenplay was written by Frank Pearson and Alan J. Pakula, based on the novel by Scott Turow, starring Harrison Ford, Bonnie Bedelia, Brian Dennehy, Raul Julia, Paul Winfield, Greta Scacchi, not sure about that one, and John Spencer. The budget was $20 million. That is $49 million adjusted for inflation. And the box office, get this, $221 million. That is $543 million adjusted for inflation. 86% Rotten Tomato score. Jay, as the guest, you mentioned this as a favorite.
Yeah.
Why?
I grew up in a household where we kind of got to watch a little bit of everything at one time. And particularly my grandmother, who I would spend a lot of times with, loved legal thrillers. I don't know why. She wasn't a lawyer. She didn't work for lawyers. She just liked these things. And so I went and saw this with her in the theater, guys. So I was a teenager in 1990, but I wasn't old enough to drive just yet, and was hanging out. And she was like, "Hey, let's go to a movie. Harrison Ford's in one. Looks pretty good." I'm like, "I'm game. Sure." And, teenage me rolls in to see Presumed Innocent with my grandmother. And immediately I'm like, "Oh man, this was really wild. I did not see this coming." It was a good twist, all the stuff that we'll talk about. Got the book from the library, read it, felt like, oh wow, they just shot the book except for, a few pieces here and there. And then when it came out on video, my parents rented it because they had heard me talk about it, and they both really liked it too. And I used to watch a lot of late 80s through the mid 90s, what I would call like the steamy thriller, kind of thing. And legal thrillers are part of that too. And I feel like this was on the precipice of a lot of the legal thrillers that just dominated the 90s and stuff. But it's one that I liked. And I'll tell you what I know now, it's been a few years since I watched it for this review, but I remember the thing that really stuck with me about it was Harrison Ford was not playing Harrison Ford, or what I thought of Harrison Ford. He was not playing Indiana Jones. He was not playing Han Solo. He's not playing some dashing person. He's playing this simp, and he's really unlikable. And everybody in this movie is horrible. And that's what makes it so fascinating and interesting, because the older I get, the more I realize that's kind of like life. I mean, they're complicated people and they make bad choices, and the spiral of it is incredible. So that's why you're really attracted to this. So when you approached me about it, I was definitely game.
I saw this with my dad as a kid. I liked it enough that I did read the book. I have not read any of the sequel books or seen any of the sequel movies. We can talk about those a little bit later. You're so right about Harrison Ford here. This is probably the most atypical Harrison Ford performance. Maybe What Lies Beneath you could throw in there as well. You could say he's playing the bad guy here. I mean, he almost never plays the bad guy. And it's really interesting to assess, because I guess we touched a little bit on Harrison Ford when we appeared on your pod. He was more or less the biggest movie star in the world in 1990, right?
Yeah. And that's why we were talking about Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
They were sort of vying for it with each other at that point. Yeah.
This would have been the peak of Harrison Ford's career. I mean, the run that he was on, beginning with Star Wars and really going up to about Air Force One, you're probably not going to see something like that again. I don't really know if there's a modern day equivalent of him.
There's really not, because people vacillate between movies and doing prestige television shows and things now. It's just a different world, and movies are so much about IP and things today, particularly theatrical. We were talking about it offline. Like this movie today would be a series or would be straight to television.
It is a series.
And it is a series.
Yeah, it is a series. It's an incredible series, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll stump for that Jake Gyllenhaal series. It's pretty good.
Not only would this be a streaming series today, but I mean, the fact that this made $500 million in today's money, I'm just thrown by this.
I will only say this about that is at the time, you got to remember things stayed in theaters a very long time, even because home video had become a thing, but it wasn't as quick a turnaround as it is now. People, particularly adults, could go to movies relatively inexpensively. It was like $5 a ticket. I think when we went, it was a matinee, so it was probably like $3.75 or something. It was an easy thing to go and do. It attracted the adult audience, because it wasn't, an action movie or something like that they might not be interested in. It wasn't something, sci-fi. There was no comic book, stuff. Batman had been a thing, but that was a different piece. There wasn't one every other week, and it was the kind of thing that would have attracted a group of adults who, when one couple saw it, they would tell every other couple about it. And then you had to see it. This had been going on for a while. Like you think about a movie like Fatal Attraction, it really got legs the longer it stayed in theaters and things.
It was the biggest movie of 1987.
Exactly, yeah. And then this one too, back in these days, people listened to Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. And when they wrote reviews or they talked about, for 4 minutes about how much they love this thing, okay, yeah, we'll go watch that. And it was just a thing. It didn't hurt either that the book was a huge smash. So anyone who was looking forward to that would be like, oh yeah, I want to go see that.
And this really kicked off, in a way, the legal thriller boom of the 90s. I mistakenly lumped this together with all the John Grisham adaptations, and then I was thinking about it, Anton. I'm like, wait, no, this was before all that. This was before A Few Good Men, Philadelphia, The Firm, The Pelican Brief, The Client. That was all years after this. So in some ways, this was the John Grisham boom before the John Grisham boom arrived. And I just find it interesting how this was a bestseller. This film did so well, and yet none of Thoreau's other novels really had the same big screen success that this did. But Anton, this was your first experience with this film. Were you aware of this film before you had to watch it for this episode?
I was aware that it was one of the few Harrison Ford films that I had not seen. And you'd really hyped it up when we talked about it. And the more I looked into it, the more intriguing, and excited I was. So I feel like, especially having seen it now, I have quite more of an opinion, I'd say. There's a lot more episode to go about and really reveal that. My daughter also shares similar opinions.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, what did she think of it?
I think she's like, let's watch the modern version and compare. But I think that there is something to say that the series does have, or the series is so popular. And to my knowledge, both are very book accurate. And I think like that has a lot to say about strong source material.
Yeah, to get into that a little bit, there's subtle differences in the book and this movie, particularly in the way it wraps up and stuff. And we can talk about it when you want to get to the ending of it and everything. But the series just elongates all of it and then decides, okay, let's go in some different directions with it and modernize it a little bit. The Carolyn character in the series that Apple did is very different than the book and then this movie. They've really softened it down a lot. She wasn't so much sleeping her way up the ladder as this Carolyn is. Because we don't do that. We don't talk about that anymore. That wouldn't be something that...
No, I was going to say, if this film's portrayal of the murder victim, I would describe as not progressive.
Not remotely.
No.
So, some might call it slut shaming, among other things. It's rough on her. And the show does a better job of handling that. There's also a lot more depth with the wife's character in the show than the book or the movie. And honestly, like we should talk about what Bonnie Bedelia is not given to do here, and then how she rescues the performance in one scene. Because
she does.
The book version of her is a very different person than what she was given to do in the movie. And it again, if it weren't for that scene where she really wins it. For me, I would feel like it was a wasted opportunity because the book wife is very much more like the show Barbara, much more active, has a lot more agency, has a lot more attitude and opinion, and you know her a little bit better. But you got to remember, the book is all told first person by Rusty,
Right.
and it's almost like he's talking about it years removed from it. They don't really pin that down, but when you read it, and I reread it, getting ready to do this show, I sort of felt that in the sense of it, that it's like he's talking about something that happened a long time ago, and he's sort of recounting it for himself.
Yeah, the film, I feel like, tries to hint at that with the two voiceovers, the monologues that like bookend the film. I guess that was just a nod to the book. There's no other, because it's his voiceover. It doesn't necessarily fit with the rest of the film, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those. I kind of feel like a lot of times they're a crutch, from a filmmaker. And let's be real, Harrison Ford is not going to get work reading audiobooks. He's not really great at them.
No.
You can ask Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not quite as bad as his voiceover narration in Blade Runner, but...
Yeah, but I'm with you, though, Patrick. It does give it... it gives it a good bookend, because it allows you to, like, I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened once upon a time.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to wrap it up for you at the end, and then you just get to sort of live in the world of it. So it does set the scene well. I like it.
One quick thing, I have to mention this. Produced by Sidney Pollack, one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. It's another reason I always gravitated towards this film. I am a huge Sidney Pollack fan.
The director of The Firm, among many other things.
Yes.
You feel the tentacles.
He considered directing this. This is right up his alley. I think he would have done a great job with this. However, I'm fine with Pakula. Cool. However the heck you say his name.
Oh yeah, I mean, the classic director. You guys have covered The Pelican Brief on the show before. All the President's Men is probably the thing that he's known for. But he worked for decades and just has a style to him. We talk about the cinematographer too. This movie's incredibly dark, but it works because it's so dark.
Gordon Willis, the legend, the Prince of Darkness. He's got to be in the pantheon of all-time great cinematographers.
Yeah.
Before Scott Turow even published his novel in 1987, the rights were the subject of a bidding war between movie studios. You had David Brown and Richard Zanuck bidding. Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer bidding. It is wild to think what they would have done with this movie.
Right.
Anton, your guys Peter Guber and John Peters, Irwin Winkler, they were all involved in this bidding war, but ultimately Sidney Pollack and Mark Rosenberg of Mirage Enterprises, they won out, purchasing the rights for $1 million. That is an astounding amount of money for a first-time author. I mean, that's like Michael Crichton money. Pretty impressive. Like, well done, Turow.
Yeah, he had a great agent.
Yeah, and, clearly.
He himself was a good attorney and wrote a lot about the experience of being an attorney and things like that. But no, I think he and his people knew what they had too with the book, and that's if you know what you got, play your cards.
So Pollack hired Frank Pearson to write the screenplay. Warner Brothers ended up as the distributor after United Artists backed out. Pollack considered directing this himself before he and Rosenberg sent the script to Alan Pakula, who spent a year rewriting it himself with Pearson. Pearson originally envisioned the film as being, quote, a movie full of sex and blood, end quote. Pakula felt the concept of justice was more central to the story. In making various changes to the novel, Pakula and Pearson added new dialogue and rewrote the ending. Several big-name actors were considered for the leading role of Rusty Savage. Kevin Costner turned it down. Robert Redford was vetoed by Sidney Pollack due to his age. I found that interesting because him and Pollack were such good buddies.
I think at that point, though, I mean, he would have been in his 50s, like mid to late 50s.
Yes.
And you needed Rusty to be squarely in his 40s.
Right. And of course, Pollack and Redford were doing their own film around this time called Havana, which is a completely forgotten film that we will be covering at some point, Anton, on the pod. It's a movie that probably should have been better considering what it was about and who was in it. You ever seen that one, Jay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a big Redford fan.
Same.
And again, holdover from my grandmother and mother, too. But I've seen probably 90% of his work through the years. And I like that one. I like Redford in just about anything. But
I think he would have been good in this role, but too old.
Yeah, yeah. Kevin Costner would have been too young, in my opinion, in 1990. He would have been a little too cocky, I think, for this.
Yeah, I think they ended up with the right guy here. Without spoiling my opinion of Harrison Ford's performance here too much, he was cast not only because he was super famous, but Pakula only offered the role to Ford, saying he, quote, possessed an everyman quality that best suited the character. Ford was paid $7 million, so that's basically more than a third of the budget. Well done, Harrison. Scott Turow was initially uncertain of Ford portraying Rusty, but he relented after seeing a few of the actor's films. Anton, this is shocking to me. Raul Julia, initially not considered for the role of Sandy Stern. He had to lobby to get the part.
Well, when we say that he lobbied for it, do you think maybe he just had to step outside for 20 minutes and get into the mindset of being a lawyer?
Hope so.
Because we know he can do that.
Jay, that's what hooked Anton's interest in this. He's like, whoa, Raul Julia's in it? Okay.
Yeah. I'm with you. When I saw him in this, this the thing about this movie is Harrison Ford is this big star and he does a heck of a performance, but there are members of the cast that steal this movie away from him at different times, and Raul Julia is one of them. And it's an incredible performance.
We'll talk about him in depth later, but man, what a loss. He was such a talent.
Yeah. And can play all kinds of things. I remember seeing him in this kind of throwaway, almost Dirty Harry sequel that Clint Eastwood did with Charlie Sheen called The Rookie. Not the Nathan Fillion TV show, but he's the bad guy in it. And you're like, oh, he's so good at this. It wasn't long before he died. And I think his wife's in it too. And they're just fishes together. But no, he's incredible.
This is the theatrical film debuts of Joseph Mazzello and Jeffrey Wright. I could not find Jeffrey Wright in here, but he is in this film. I didn't look that hard, though. Ford and the rest of the cast spent time with real lawyers who acted as advisors on the production. Ford observed murder trials with Pakula at the Recorder's Court in Detroit, and he viewed trading footage from the Michigan Prosecutors Association. Principal photography commenced in July 1989 in Detroit at various locations around the city. Additional shooting took place across the border in Windsor, Ontario, before moving to Newark, New Jersey, at the City Hall and Essex County Courthouse. A housing project scheduled for demolition was used for the scene where Rusty and Detective LaPrenza interrogate not a suspect, but a person of interest, I would say. And then Rusty's house was located in Allendale, New Jersey. Shooting wrapped up in October of 1989. Gentlemen, let's talk why wasn't it better? I want to start with Harrison Ford. We were already getting into him. Anton, I texted to you, this is not his best performance, but I find it to be possibly his most interesting performance.
These are one of the performances that you just gotta love. It's the category of what are the kinds of roles that actors just won't take after a certain point in their career. It's a really juicy role for Harrison Ford.
And he doesn't overdo it. He's low-key about it. But Jay, you were touching on this earlier. We are not used to seeing him like this. Getting rejected by a woman like this and being jealous and being moody and upset and vulnerable. It's the most atypical Harrison Ford performance.
You said something along the lines of he's the bad guy in the film. And
he is.
One could argue, like, people may say, well, maybe it's more of a morally gray, but I really do think it's he essentially was the bad guy. I
mean, let's be real. Everything that happens in this movie is Rusty's fault because he has an affair outside of his marriage. And he's an interesting character for Ford to get into because Rusty is this low-key, ruthlessly ambitious person, but he doesn't come off as like type A personality at all. He's just cunning and he's smart. He's incredibly smart. He may be the smartest guy in the room at any one time, and he knows it. But it also, he doesn't have full emotional intelligence and control of his emotions. So he lets himself get pulled and yanked and upset about things. And he does things that would mess him up throughout his life. And he really is his own worst enemy in every way. And that's what's neat about watching Ford do this is he tried to do this other times in his career later on. He tried to do it in Frantic, which is a movie that more or less kind of works. He tried to do it in a movie called Regarding Henry, which doesn't work at all.
Oh, it's terrible.
That's a terrible movie.
Oh.
He tried to do it a little bit in Witness, but he still was playing the hero in Witness because he's this cop with the heart of gold, kind of thing. And it before he became kind of the sort of his grumpy old man stage, which is fun, now that's what he's done for 20 years. But in this mode, it is one of his most interesting choices. And I heard him talk about it in a thing once, and he just said he thought of it like a play. he said it's like he'd heard other actors talk about, like, oh, you get this great part and you just get to chew the scenery, and you don't have to be cool, you don't have to be dashing, you just have to be vulnerable. And he said, I thought that was interesting, and Pakula directed him that way too. Is that he's a real person with flaws, and you want him to do better, but at every chance Rusty has to do the right thing, he doesn't entirely do it. He's like 80% of the right thing. And it shows you a lot of the gray area of the legal system too, and that's why he has that great scene early on opposite of Julia that sort of establishes their relationship, that Sandy Stern and he have been, warring in court for years. And this is not uncommon for prosecuting attorneys and the defense attorneys that they often see. They have great relationships outside of the courtroom. They're just,
right.
They're on different sides of the legal spectrum for the reasons our system is set up the way it is. But Rusty himself is a gray area. And that's what makes him so much neat to watch, because again, you want him to do better, but he won't. He'll undermine his own way the whole time.
Before I forget, because I am certain some of our listeners will correct me if I don't mention this, I have to mention the Mosquito Coast. He is a full-blown antagonist in that film. This is, I guess, one of maybe 3 or 4 performances where he's not heroic, I would say, right? Even in The Fugitive, right? We know he's innocent. We know he's being set up. We know he has to find the real bad guy. There's no doubts about this. But I mean, Anton, I'm curious, because I didn't spoil any of this for you. Were you uncertain if he was guilty or not the whole time?
Yeah, and there was. I made sure to not do a ton of research because, well, one, I knew for a fact like this is one of those films that was famous for its twists, and I really wasn't sure whether or not, his character was innocent. And I felt like the film did a really great job of showing how each character even in the district's attorney's office is so self-preserving for this society and this, or just kind of a reflection of society and of just what people in power will do to stay self-preserving. I felt like that really threw me for a loop as I just kind of watched Harrison Ford in this role, just because, again, I'm so used to seeing him in more heroic roles. So
what went through your mind in the scene? I think it's pretty early in the film, maybe 20, 30 minutes in, where he burns the note.
It's, how will this guy be redeemable? And I felt like I kept asking myself that question throughout, and knowing that I also had to pose this thought process of just, he's not a hero, but he is the protagonist, and I have to see the protagonist story through the end. And I felt like that was the beauty of it, is what foils are put in front of him, and every hurdle kind of created these twists and turns that presented it in a way that, Jay, you made a really good point. Like, Rusty's the smartest guy in the room. How is he going to get out of this one? And that was still fascinating. Even if I wasn't necessarily rooting for him, I really wanted to see this story continue. So it really felt like a page turner.
The book really is worth reading, Anton, if you ever get a chance. It's pretty good. It really is. Even by the end, does he ever really show remorse for what he did?
No, there's a line he does in that end monologue, and just remind me when we get to that, the way that Harrison Ford spits that line out lets you know that he doesn't feel sorry about any of it, and he's pretty resentful about it all. And that's an interesting choice, because when you read it in the book, you don't know that that's the intent, but when you hear him say it, it's like, ooh, there's an edge on that.
Or even at the end, no one cares that this poor woman died, or this poor woman was killed.
The murder goes unsolved.
They're all like,
that last line. It's cold. Well, and that's the word. It's the coldest Harrison Ford performance ever. Like, he's so detached from things. And part of it is the intellectual nature of the character. But part of it is, I think, like you said, Anton, it's self-preservation. Everybody's involved in self-preservation. It's Brian Denny. He's the most self-aggrandizing person in the whole friggin' movie. And he's awesome at it, by the way. I love him. But you see Rusty point fingers at all these people that are coming to get him. But I'm like, but hey, bud, you did this to yourself, and you're continuing to do it to yourself. And that's what's wild about it.
You can see in his inner monologue, like, oh man, good thing DNA hasn't been invented yet.
Right? Yeah. Good thing OJ had not happened yet. Yeah.
I haven't seen the Mosquito Coast in a long time, but even in that, where he is technically the bad guy, he goes crazy, and you kind of feel bad for him in a way. But in here, other than the fact that he's Harrison Ford and he's charismatic and he's likable, it's hard to feel bad for him.
It was one of the most shocking scenes for me, or the one that I was really most impressed by, was the flashback, and he's already slept with Carolyn once, and he just shows this verbal and visible frustration that she doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. And
so
the way
he
that
grabs her arm.
He grabs her arm. He just reacts violently. And for a minute, I'm sure the audience is like, maybe he did do it.
I mean, you can see that happening in her head in the scene before when they're laying in bed together, because she's basically trying to goad him into, why don't you take Raymond Corrigan's job? You'd be a better, PA than he is, because she's trying to jump on the train up. That's her whole character. I'm not besmirching the person, but this is
right.
What
that
she
was
did.
How she was presented.
Yeah, and when he showed no interest in it, because he's like, nope, I like being behind the scenes. I like doing my thing. You saw like this, Greta Sachi does this great thing with her face where she's like, and we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
And like the next scene is like, I think it's over. I'm done, and because she's looking for ambition. And even if she wasn't, even if you want to say like, no, she's not really sleeping her way to the top, if you want to retcon that for yourself, because in the book it's clear, and in this movie it is too, that's what she was doing. Even if you want to say that was not it, she is the kind of woman who's attracted to an ambitious man. When you meet her ex-husband, you're like, no, you can see why she ditched this guy, and it's the same thing. The second Rusty, it doesn't have that ambition anymore, she's done. And it sets off in him that moment where if you don't know the story, Anton, you're going like, maybe he did it because he looks like he could have done it.
It's funny how she assesses ambition too, because like it's not even like that he doesn't have ambition. He's just not willing to take out his boss, who he feels a lot of loyalty to. It's not even like he has a real lack of it. It's not like he's a bum who doesn't want to advance his career, but he basically tells her like, I don't want to do that to my boss. I'm loyal to him. I like him. I respect him. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. This film, talk about a testament to Harrison Ford's star power. I mean, we were talking about the box office numbers before. We'll talk about the ending a little bit later. Considering the subject matter of this film and how unlikable all the characters are, and frankly, how dark the ending is, the fact that this made so much money is, just like I said, a testament to Harrison Ford's star power. This was the 8th highest grossing film of 1990. Just behind Die Hard 2 and Back to the Future Part 3. It was Warner Brothers' biggest movie of the year.
That's amazing to think about, this little legal thriller.
Yeah.
Wedged in between this burgeoning action franchise and the capper of one of the most family-friendly, beloved trilogies of the 80s and 90s.
1990, good year for blockbusters. The biggest movie of the year, Ghost, Pretty Woman, Home Alone, Hunt for Red October. Like great stuff in there.
Hunt for Red October. That's a stay tuned and a half. I love that. To talk about that one for days.
It's my favorite movie.
So fun.
That. Love the book. Love everything about. Love the fact that Tom Clancy got the CIA and FBI on his doorstep when the book was released. Because they're like, you're an insurance adjuster. How do you know this? And he's like, it's called public records. You just got to read.
Yeah.
He looked it all up. They didn't know what was public.
Oh, the Clancy, the Clancy-verse films man, they went downhill quick. But
so I'll tell you this as an aside. If you ever just want a really good, it's a reason for physical media, by the way. If you want a good director's commentary, listen to Phil Alden Robinson and Tom Clancy on The Sum of All Fears.
I have it. I know it's hilarious.
It is a spirited debate between two people that could not be more politically opposite if they tried. And they're not even talking about the movie half the time, but it's an interesting thing. It makes the movie go by a lot better.
Anton, that movie sucks, but Jay, I love that you called out this commentary. It's worth listening to, Anton. They just start arguing at one point through the commentary, and Clancy starts trashing the movie, and he starts picking random things apart. He's like, well, that's just the wrong kind of plane.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It's so entertaining.
He gets real pedantic about it.
I gotta check this out.
I mean, it's tough to watch that movie. It's pretty bad, but
with the commentary, it makes it go by a lot.
So
better.
Great. That's a deep cut, Jay. That's great. That's I haven't thought about that in years.
Well, we went from Harrison Ford to Jack Ryan. He played Jack Ryan a couple times. We were in the same.
Yeah, this is all relevant. It's fine.
But to the point, like, it's wild that this drama landed in the top 10 like that. But also, like we talked about, this is in the precipice where like good adult entertainment would make mint at the box office. I'd already mentioned Fatal Attraction. Go back to Fatal Attraction's like older cousin, Jagged Edge with Glenn Close. It's a hell of a Glenn Close and Robert Lothar. A pretty nasty Jeff Bridges performance.
Yes, that's a good one, Anton. It's like a
it's
like an erotic thriller, I guess, right?
It is. It fits the steamy thriller, but it's a legal thriller too. So it's a courtroom thing. But it's talking about something that is definitely from a time before the internet took over newspapers in the world and DNA and all that stuff.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of how old school that movie is, Anton. A typewriter is a big part of it.
The typewriter is the Chekhov's plot device. In the Chekhov's typewriter. But yeah. Well, I mean, in this one, it's a bar glass. So,
True.
I mean,
well, I guess that people still
and a
use bar
hammer.
glasses.
Yeah. Well, the hammer's the movie thing. I'll say this now: the hammer's not in the book.
Oh,
there's no hammer in the book. The bar glass is the key piece of evidence.
What's the murder weapon in the book?
They never say. They don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he surmised, but he does not find it in a random bunch of tools and wash it.
Well, we can talk about the finding of the murder weapon here a little bit later. I think we all have thoughts on that.
Yeah, the washing off scene is with the bar glass in the book. We'll get to that at the end. But they don't know what the murder weapon is, and none of that. So
rest of the cast is our second reason.
Yeah,
I want to start with Bonnie Bedelia. Anton, what happened to her?
My goodness, let me check my Rolodex.
She was hot at the time. Her career. She was in this and Die Hard 2 in the same year. Haven't seen her in much since.
She did Needful Things a few years later, but that was kind of it.
Kind of it.
Yeah.
Was her performance
maybe
here?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say her performance here outstanding.
Yeah, just a great call out. A very small window of, I'd say, like small window of great films in the 90s. But I think like after having seen this film, super impressed.
She has such a way of playing someone who's been totally betrayed. And if Rusty can't get over Carolyn, because he clearly can't, she cannot get over that betrayal at all. And I'm not saying she's not justified in so, but that's sort of the lead foot of her character in everything she does. Because she just compares herself to like all these, successful women and people like this, and all I've done is make beds. And when in her background, she's a mathematician. She's about to finish her PhD. She's going to go work at a university. That's all in the book too, though it's downplayed a little bit more. She's a little more, I think she's got a little more of an edge to her in the book. She's a little more forceful sometimes. I think Bonnie Bedelia played it a little more reserved. And I don't know if that was in the script, if that was just her idea or what, but it's a killer performance because, like I say, at the end of the movie, she steals the movie back from Raul Julia, who stole it from Harrison Ford.
She does. And it's a hard role to pull off because you have to sympathize with her for the longest time. You can tell when the movie starts, she's already gone through several stages of grief in the betrayal process where she's basically gotten to the point of just cynicism.
Yeah.
And you obviously feel bad for her because once you realize like what Rusty did, you're like, man, what a scumbag. How could he do this to his nice wife? And then at the end, she has to sell the fact that she is a stone cold psychopath.
Yeah. And she is. And it is, talk about a cold performance.
Yeah. I mean, Anton, he basically finds out he's married to the Terminator.
Yeah. Just, I like the fact that they didn't have to go through like a huge flashback scene of every terrible thing that she did. It just leaves it to the imagination, but knowing how she left the crime scene, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they show the photos really quick, and my wife pointed this out to me because I just completely overlooked it. She not only killed Carolyn in cold blood, she tortured her and like tied her up.
She tied her up to make it look like one of the sex perverts that the husband had put away so that it would lead cops off the trail. Because, again, there's no DNA to worry about at this point. So she's like, they'll never get to him. She had no idea his political opponents, who the De La Guardia and Tommy Malto, who defeat Horrigan in the election, and they immediately turn their guns on Rusty because they're scared of him, they're intimidated by him, and they don't like him. And so she had no idea that would ever happen. So it blows her mind, and it makes her become this sort of shell of a sympathetic person. But you said, Patrick, like, he's married to the Terminator. I think it's scarier. I think he realizes he created the friggin' Terminator.
Yeah.
And that's even scarier. when you are the reason that this very smart but basically normal person becomes the arch villain of your life. Like, that's messed up.
I was wondering about this too, because she does say that she didn't intend for him to get in trouble for it, but by leaving the bar glass there, she had to have at least known that that was a possibility. So I don't even know, and I wonder if Rusty realizes this too. I don't even know if she's being honest about that, because once he gets charged, she is perfectly willing to let him go through this.
Well, she explains it to him, though, about the glass. She said she didn't realize what a bumbling goof he was in the office, and that he kept forgetting it, and that the cop would forget it. She thought once he found that, he would put it together and go, oh, shit. And then he would just bury the thing.
That's a hell of a leap for her to make.
But she says it to him. But I think you're onto something, Patrick, is that once she sees him get up on that, cross basically, and is being led down the road, she's willing to, like, right up until the end, she's going to let him suffer that, because that's what she went through mentally. Because I mean, she tells him, I wanted to kill myself multiple times after you had an affair with that woman. And then I had a dream one night that, well, what if I just killed her instead? And that's when she changed. But he did that to her, and so she wanted him to get a taste of it for sure.
Does she say how long she planned it for?
No, she says she cooked it up pretty quick, because the way she kind of lays it off, it doesn't take long.
Whoa, what a monster. Jeez.
Yeah, right. Well, it's what you realize is, like, and that's the fun thing about this movie, and I think it's what Thoreau was getting at in the book, and it's in the movie too, is that everyone has these little switches, right? And just, you never know when you flip a couple of them the wrong way, like what you're capable of. Like, everybody in this movie is corrupted in some way. Horrigan's corrupted, Molto and De La Guardia are clearly corrupted. The judge is corrupted, but he's not irredeemable, because we hear his story. The only, like, non-corruptible person besides the kids in the movie is Sandy Stern.
Sandy's the man.
Yeah.
Sandy is the man. I mean,
Alejandro Stern.
I mean, what an incredible, like, just the smoothness of this dude, and just the way he works. And the fact that that cross-examination he gets with the medical examiner is just, it's awesome.
That might be the best scene in the film. It really might be.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, how, it's what you realize is that, like, Rusty was kind of a bumbling, prosecutor sometimes, because prosecutors are overwhelmed with information. So there's no way they could possibly get everything right. That's the idea. So stuff is missed. Well, De La Guardia and Molto are just as bad. They're not any different, because once you get elected to an office like that, your only concern is getting reelected.
Right.
It really is. And that's one of the downfalls of elected, prosecution and judicial system and things like that. And we could argue that, a whole other day. But you see, like, everyone here in some way or another has either been corrupted or is corrupted. And you just got to know how to work it to your angle. Sandy's the one that finds that and says, okay, we have an angle here that they haven't thought of. They think, he's sterile, or whatever. So that could be a problem, but obviously they're trying to use this affair that they can never quite prove, but his motive or whatever here. Well, why would she need spermicidal jelly if she's had a tubal ligation? And how the hell do you miss that in an autopsy? Because what the guy say, he did 20 that week? Yeah, he's overworked too. Yeah. So, but that guy, make no mistake, Painless Kumagai, which is a hell of a nickname for a coroner, by the way, Painless. He hates Rusty more than anybody.
Yeah, the book goes way more into that, for sure. Yeah.
It's their hate runs deep.
Yeah. So, they have history. Yeah. Before we move on to our love of Raul Julia a bit more, I didn't realize that Bonnie Bedelia is Macaulay Culkin's aunt.
Pretty neat.
I didn't know that either.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Has nothing to do with this film, but it's like, I was like, what? I just thought
No disrespect to Kieran Culkin.
It's funny, is like, is Kieran Culkin more famous than Macaulay Culkin at this point? It's like, I still say no.
In the current zeitgeist.
I think in the current zeitgeist, but he's never, like, is there anything that'll ever be bigger than Home Alone?
I think that's more generational.
Yeah. So Bonnie Culkin, maybe. Yeah, Raul Julia. I wrote down there are not many actors who can dominate scenes like that guy could and do so quietly. He's dominating Harrison freaking Ford, and he's never raising his voice above. It sounds like he delivers every line like he is ordering breakfast. Just totally chill.
he delivers his lines so effortlessly. He's literally the coolest guy in the room.
Mhm.
It just reminds me of why I love him as an actor and everything that I've seen him in. It's just fantastic. Every scene where he's doing the cross-examination, he's in the courtroom, it's literally fighting without fighting. You're seeing just this fencing match and this sparring going on where he is truly the master of maneuvering every single conversation. I love his performance in this.
You said it, Anton. If Rusty's the smartest guy in the room, that smartness drives him to like high anxiety, and he doesn't handle it well. Whereas Sandy is the coolest head in the room and has the most emotional intelligence. And he just keeps everything that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. He's just so cool. And the way he delivers those lines is ultra cool. It's like John Travolta in the 80s cool. Like it's just so smooth. Every time Rusty's like, I want to testify, or whatever, it's like, yeah, and every word you say is just going to convince the jury that you were obsessed with this woman and you lost your mind and you killed her.
He speaks so slowly. It's the perfect narrator's voice. It's soothing. You're hanging on to every word. He has one of my favorite lines in the film. He says, "We speak now tonight, and then these things are never spoken of again."
Yeah. He's talking about the bribery file and all the thing with the judge. And, and then he's the one that tells us the judge is someone who's redeemed himself. He was going through a bad divorce. He was drinking a lot. After that, he got himself some help, probably because the untold of that is like Sandy probably said, Laren, let me help you through this. And it got him through it. He's on the bench. He's a great mind, all these things. And you realize like this is the kind of operator that would do those things and you would never know in the background.
He does redeem himself. And yet during this trial, he's perfectly willing to tank the trial.
Oh yeah. He's
that it
ruthless.
Won't expose his own past corruption.
Yeah. Well, Sandy's ruthless enough to like, I'm just going to let the judge know, I know, and you don't want this, and you know it too, but we'll go there if I have to, because we both know this idiot over here didn't do this.
Yes.
He was obsessed with this woman, but he didn't kill her. And that this is a frame job.
What does Rusty say to him at one point? He's like, wait, so you basically bribed the judge? And he's like, yes, I did do that.
Yeah. He's just like, yeah, I let him know that I would be willing to go there. So.
Yeah, I feel like the different ways that the actors or the characters react to pressure was really apparent when it was the scene between Raymond, Rusty, and Sandy. And you find out Raymond had hooked up with Carolyn before. And then Raymond keeps going on and on. I try to put you on the case. And then Rusty's just really quick to respond to every single question. And then Sandy just says, well, I'd have to advise my client to, as much as he wants to tell you everything, probably he shouldn't. And it's just the coolest way of just saying, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, that's what the coolness of that character is. And it's all Raul Julia's performance. I mean, it's in the book that way too, but Julia just brings that to life in the only way he could have. I mean, you could think about recasting other people in these roles, and I don't think you can replace Ford and get the same performance, but you can't replace Raul Julia. There's no one at the time that could have done this.
No, it's a great example of there not being a whole lot on paper. Like Sandy Stern is certainly a more interesting character in the book, but in this film, like we don't really know anything about him. Okay, he's a defense attorney. He doesn't really have any personality. There's not much to his character on paper. I mean, he has good dialogue, sure, but it's how Julia is delivering this dialogue and dominating every scene that he's in is what makes this such a special role for me.
It's also in the way he's filmed and photographed and dressed, y'all. He's the only colorful one in the whole lot of these dull, drab wearing people. Carolyn was kind of a bright firecracker light in the way she dressed and stuff. And then you have Sandy, who's it's subtler, but it's very colorful. It's smooth. It's very rich silk. Like you see it. He's never not in a $5,000 suit. So one, he's really good at his job, clearly. And two, that's his flash is that. It's not in his performance. It's in, but I'm going to let you know because I'm going to intimidate you with the way I walk in the room. I mean, Johnny Cochran made a living out of that. That's why he dressed to the nines. It was a way to just, I'm going to let you know I am good.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually think of even just costuming and cinematography alignment, like all of the grays, morally gray, moral alignment totally makes sense.
Yeah.
He was just an actor that he lent credibility to whatever role he was in. Like, think about like just how much of a crap fest that Street Fighter movie is. And think how much credibility he gives that movie. Just him alone. That movie, there is nothing else memorable about that film.
Yeah, and it makes me come back to that film beyond just being a big Street Fighter fan. Is he's forever Bison.
Would you have any other reason to rewatch that other than his performance?
To laugh at Jean-Claude Van Damme.
As we all shouldn't do.
We should. Yeah, what a loss. He died only a few years after this. I think this is my favorite Raul Julia performance. He really probably should have been nominated for an Academy Award for this.
Yeah, he really should have. I was curious. I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, what was nominated in the
Pesci won for Goodfellas.
Okay. That would have been hard to beat.
Yeah, fair.
Hard to beat. Well of a performance for sure.
Who else was nominated? Graham Greene for Dances with Wolves, Bruce Davison for Longtime Companion, Al Pacino for Dick Tracy.
That's funny. I think we got to think pound for pound though, just like the amount of minutes his character was actually in the film, but then the amount of quality that you get for each minute, like it's insane.
The last nominee was Andy Garcia in Godfather 3.
Okay, he could have definitely replaced Pacino or Garcia. I love Andy Garcia, but no.
I mean, I hate that movie so much.
I mentioned it to you offline, Patrick, but I'll say it here that in this sort of same vein of thrillers and things, Greta Sacchi was in a movie called Shattered with Tom Berenger and Bob Hoskins, but it's in the same kind of place of all of that stuff. But Andy Garcia is in that as well, and he's got a small role in that, and then he's in another one called Dead Again with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson.
Good movie.
And he's awesome in that movie. Yeah.
I don't want to hate on Andy Garcia. I do think he's good in Godfather 3, but that movie is just, ugh.
It was a mess, and everybody would tell you it was a mess. So, but again, Raul Julia deserved the nom for this, because you're right, Anton. He's not on screen very long, but you remember every second of it because he's so impactful. I mean, again, it's wild to see, and I'll give Harrison Ford a lot of credit for this. A lot of actors will not let another actor steal a movie from them, and he's just the kind of performer that's like, sure, you know, when it's time to hand it over, he just lets Sandy take it and run with it, you know. And when it's time to hand it over to Bonnie Bedelia at the end, he just hands it right over to her. That's a giving performer, you know.
Absolutely. Harrison Ford has no problem sharing.
I likened a lot of that to the fact that, again, he was 33 before he ever did anything that was a hit. American Graffiti was not a hit. He was a carpenter on movie sets,
right?
You know,
I mean, he wasn't even. What's he in that movie for 10 minutes? Like,
he's barely in it. Yeah, he's in a couple of car seats, you know. But after Star Wars, I mean, he'll tell you. He said the thing I love most about Star Wars is now I can work, and he you know, his whole thing was like, I come from the let's pretend world of acting. So you give me a role and tell me what it is, I'm going to go find it, and I'm just going to pretend to be that thing. That's why he can play all of the things that he's played in his career, you know, up into a Red Hulk now.
Moving through the rest of the cast, incredible Brian Dennehy performance.
Oh, love Brian Dennehy, man. Yeah. Talk about classing up a joint anytime he walks in, even though he always looks sort of disheveled and half whiskey burnt.
He is so good at playing a scumbag.
He's a great scumbag.
This is a great role for him. It's great casting because you immediately buy him as this Irish Catholic DA of a major city, definitely corrupt, definitely banging a bunch of chicks on the side, definitely keeps a bottle of Bushmills in his desk.
Just always nursing some scotch and swirling it and pointing at you while he's saying something.
Yeah. It's 9:30 in the morning. He's going to offer you a glass of scotch.
Exactly, because he's already had 3. You know, but the functional level of, like, you realize, like, a guy, he's a big personality, and Brian Dennehy, he's a big guy, you know, and all these always this big guy roles, but he plays it like he's Twinkle Toes. Like, you realize, like, man, this guy learned how to sidestep a lot of landmines to get where he is in life. So he's crafty and he's cunning and he's scary. And it's one of the cool things that they do. It's more of that character's in the book like this, and they bring it out in that Apple series. The Horrigan character becomes Rusty's defense attorney. There's no Sandy Stearns in the TV show. There's a character that kind of comes and goes named Sandy, but they wisely realize they can't do Raul Julia, so they give Horrigan that job, and it's actually a neat way of doing it because you bring all of Horrigan's like incredible baggage, but he still gets to play that role, and it's sort of neat to think about this. Like, what if Brian Dennehy had got to do that? You know, it's neat. But you described him, Patrick. He's a great scumbag. He's always a great scumbag. Silverado, FX, anything. He's a great scumbag.
First Blood.
Oh man, the scumbag.
The scumbag. This movie's just full of great character actors. I mean, Paul Winfield as Judge Lyron Little. Again, not a lot on paper, and he's doing a lot with it. I love all the little stuff he's doing, how he deliberately mispronounces De La Guardia.
Yeah. That's the guy's reputation, is that he just pushes everything off.
But he just says that he pronounces his name like that every single time in front of the jury. It's really funny. It could have been a completely forgettable performance, and Winfield turns it into a very memorable one.
I think it's also just how he closes the dismissal that still sticks to me, knowing how it seems like he's like, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, and just knowing like, well, he's tied to this. He's very sticky to this case. So doing this is a bit of like a public performance. It's just everything's connected. And I think
he realizes at that moment that I know this guy just got elected DA or whatever, but he's about to get ripped and be pulled out of office on a special election. So I'm going to put the final nail in that coffin right now.
Right.
That's it.
Political stuff aside, I think we rely on the judge for a lot of exposition in this film, but it's very good exposition. It feels natural. I've served on a jury. Judges will explain things to the jury the way he does in this film. You know, I read some criticism of this film, which I don't agree with, is that the film relies too much on Judge Little to explain things to the jury, and that's quote unquote not realistic. Not so.
No, that's exactly how it goes.
Right.
Yes. So,
right.
Because they don't, you don't know that unless you're there every day. So they have to tell you all of that.
Exactly. And, you know, we talk about this a lot, and exposition is a very easy thing to criticize about a film. Every film has exposition. We only mind the bad exposition. This film has, I think, very intelligent exposition.
Yep, definitely agree. I think it's the kind of exposition that just feels effortless, or it just feels more organic. And I think that when you think of all the dialogue that occurs in the film, it's never just, well, let me tell you all of this while we go for a walk and I'm going to story dump on you. No, it feels like a revelation whenever there's exposition.
Rest of the cast. We can talk about the West Wing connections now. So we get John Spencer as Detective LePranzer, Bradley Whitford as, I don't remember the character's name, but he's Sandy Stern's assistant. And then young Jesse Bradford as Rusty's son, who was in the West Wing for a few episodes playing one of the White House interns. Bradford only has a handful of lines, but I mean, John Spencer, love to see him in this. Great character. I like his friendship with Rusty. I have a little bit of thoughts on that a little bit later when we talk about the plot. But there's really no weak link here in the cast.
No, shouts out Sab Shimono. Love his performance.
Yep.
Also, just being a fan of this cartoon as a kid, he played the uncle character in Jackie Chan Adventures. He was the voice.
Was he on Seinfeld too?
I don't know 100% for sure.
I'm pretty sure he was on Seinfeld at one point.
Yeah. But awesome performance, and interesting to see how his character developed.
And then, of course, the last note I have about the cast, young Joseph Mazzello as the abused kid. And I think it was really nice of his grandfather to take him to that dinosaur park a couple years later to make him feel better.
That's so funny.
Yeah. You forget about that, but yeah.
I did the quick check on this, Pat. He was Saab was on Seinfeld. He was in the Checks episode, season 8.
Okay, all right. I thought I recognized him there.
Awesome.
But I didn't know about the Jackie Chan Adventures connection. That's pretty cool.
Really fun little deep cut.
I always feel like John Spencer is one of those people that, like, it's one of those actors that was never a cop, but every time you tell me he's a cop, I'm like, yeah, he's a cop. He just kind of just has a 80s cop thing to him.
Yeah, like in this film, he's kind of a slob.
Yeah, he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. That's sort of the funny thing, is that Rusty, for being the smartest guy in the room, is also incredibly, like, forgetful of things and stuff because he's so self-obsessed. That's the truth. And he's got the best friend cop to do that because he's really lazy. Like at one point he probably wasn't, but now he is. And okay, so I dug him. I've liked him throughout everything he did, and I talk about gone too soon.
Yeah.
He died 20 years ago now, but yeah, he's an interesting performer. Did a lot of cool work. So,
all right, let's talk about the plot of this film. We can do the production, the plot. Anton, the murder of Carolyn in this film reminded me of the murder of a film that we've covered in the past. She a bad girl, Kana-san. She was bad news.
It was the right time period, I'll tell you that.
Yes, Kana-san, you should see what happened when I put a bag over her head.
Oh man, no, it's a lot of parallels. I'll agree with that for sure, Pat.
So Carolyn gets murdered, which is what triggers the plot of this film. Let's just go through some of the points because we can go all over the place. We have expressed a lot of praise for this film. I think the plot. This is the first time I've really analyzed this film. I've seen this a lot. There's some cracks in the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Why doesn't Rusty tell Raymond that he was sleeping with Carolyn if he's innocent? It doesn't make sense.
I can only answer it in that he knew Raymond had an affair with her too, whether he knew it or not. Raymond confesses it to him sitting in the office. And I think he's like, I'm not, it's one time Rusty plays it close to the vest, and I feel like at that point, he still feels like Raymond's on his side. And so Raymond's confiding in him and Rusty's getting to play the role he likes to play, which is lieutenant. Like, okay, I'm there with you. I'm there, boss. Not realizing that Horrigan is feeling him out and realizing like, oh, you were doing it too, asshole, and he's feeling him out just as much. So I think that's why.
That makes sense. It does get shady though when he burns the note. You're like, oh, okay.
Well, I think that's the movie and the story keeping you on the line. Anton, let me ask you, is keeping you on the line to think like maybe he did it, because you don't know until the very.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with like any office corporate politics is something that could seem so mundane. Now there's the extreme of like, hey, like, I slept with her, and knowing that my boss slept with her, maybe I shouldn't tell my boss. But it's even just the smaller things in inter-office politics. It's what information do I withhold, do I share as part of how I navigate the politics of where I am. I see it just being that like coin flip decision, and it burns him either way.
Definitely burns him. This is something that's always, I don't know if it bothered me, but I can't figure it out. And maybe you reread the novel recently, Jay. Maybe the novel goes into this. Rusty is a prosecutor. So why is he leading the police investigation of this?
Yeah. It's not so much that way in the book. It's that LaPranzer initially is leading that investigation. He's close with LaPranzer, and Horrigan tells him, I want you to take the lead on this one. Get in there with it. It's not uncommon for the DAs to work with the detectives along the way, but it's actually much more like the way you saw it on the heyday years of Law and Order, where the cops would go by to talk to the prosecutor and they go like, you got nothing here, go dig something else up, or they'll call him and go, you better go find me a suspect, or we're going to have hot water here. Rusty's just being actively involved, and his wife calls him out on it too. He's still obsessed with Carolyn. So even in her death, he just wants to be there, I think.
Or it's the same way that I interpreted it, but I still think it was more of it also took the route of Hollywood screenwriter thinks, well, if we just pose it this way, like the audience won't look into it too much until a podcast in 2025 does.
Yeah, like Raymond keeps putting pressure on him to like find a suspect, and most DAs would be like, why don't you talk to the police? Because as we know from Law and Order, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups. This is one of their stories for sure.
No doubt. Well, I think too, it's Raymond is so desperate because they're getting creamed in the election. He knows he's going to lose, and one of his people just got murdered, and he's got to solve, like, he needs a win, and he's just desperate.
He sure is. This feeds into my next question. Why wouldn't Carolyn's office be taped off?
I think it would at least be like, have like a notice on it or something like that. I'm with you. Yeah. But I don't know. I think a couple of these questions, I was thinking about them, but you shared them ahead of time. And I thought the real answer is because, as we well established in this movie, the police kind of suck. in this town.
They
They're not
really
great.
do.
They're really not good. Like, and they may even be actually bad. So, like that.
Is
I can
anyone
see
good
it.
at their job besides Sandy Stern in this film?
No.
Like
No.
Well, okay,
Rusty's
apparently
supposed to
Barbara
be.
is because she gets a great professor's gig at the university. But yeah,
while committing murder.
yeah,
I mean, is it just also just a commentary on everything? It's these people that are so self-preserving in these positions of power are very imperfect.
yeah. I think you're onto it, and they're civil servants. They're overworked. Like they talk about all the time, like how behind they are on everything. They are. I mean, I have friends right now that have been in the legal system and not for anything they've done. They've just, are a family member situation, and it's gone on for 4 years.
Yeah.
And you think like, God, how long does it take to do this? But then you start looking into it. It's all these motions take a long time. And Patrick, I was recently on jury duty. That was a long day of just sitting around waiting for something, And it's just, I think you're there, Anton. These people are just overworked and really flawed, and at the end of the day, they just want to go home. So
This brings us to, I think this is the biggest plot hole in the film. They try to address it with some dialogue, but the police not finding the murder weapon in the home, and he just pulls it out of the toolbox. It's idiotic.
Yeah, it's why it's not in the book, and it is a dumb. I get why it's there, but it's a dumb thing. Like they would have found that. Like anybody would have found that because it took him like a minute to find it.
Yeah, like they stupidly try to address it with dialogue in the film too, where she's like, aren't they looking for the murder weapon? And he's like, well, they know I wouldn't be stupid enough to keep it here. It's like, so what were they looking for?
Yeah. Well, that goes back to your theory too, Patrick. It's like maybe she did want him to get caught. She just
why would she
right
keep
back
it?
in the box.
It's, I mean,
yeah.
Other than just thinking she's not a criminal mastermind, and
also fair.
Yeah. She may have all of her calculated, just horrific things that she will do, but maybe also won't think ahead as much as a psycho she may seem.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, Anton. Maybe, I mean, she planned out everything else, but just keeps the murder weapon in the house. It's just,
you know what? Hard hammer's hard to come by. Maybe it's a really good hammer.
That was a little special hammer. It was like a little like tomahawk too. Little hatchet.
It had a hatchet on the end of it. Oddly enough, we had one of those at home growing up that we would use for different things. And when I saw this movie, I was like, I know the murder weapon. It's at home.
I also think it's funny how the prosecution, they just completely downplay the murder weapon too. They're like, yeah, it's some blunt object.
Well, that shows you too, like how ridiculous De La Guardia and Molto are too. They're so hyper focused on they're going to nail Rusty that they just undermine their whole investigation to the point of, like we talked about with the whole missing and messing up the whole medical report and everything. They're just so zeroed in on him that they miss obvious things they should have paid attention to.
And the bar glass. My understanding of the chain of evidence is even if they had found the bar glass after losing it, it would have been inadmissible. I think if you lose evidence and then try to reinstate it, I don't think that works, right?
It would have been under a lot of scrutiny, and it would have been hard to get it put back in.
Right.
I think.
I mean,
I'm not a legal expert.
Bottom line,
any lawyers that have, anyone that has passed the bar, please.
Michael Scott of Action for Everyone, please weigh in on this and tell us if we're wrong, because he would actually know.
I am curious because, like, bottom line, if you're on the jury and the prosecution's like, "Well, we lost it, but we found it again," you're not buying that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the judge gives them all that time. Like, you better find the glass. Go find the glass. And what happens with the glass, though, is that's another piece of gray ethical burning of the note area.
Yeah.
The cop has it. So he goes and gets it because Rusty keeps forgetting about it. Then they kick him off the case. So he throws it in a drawer thinking they got to come ask for it, only they never did. And so I figure whatever. And then he hands it to Rusty and he's like, I don't know. Is that bad? and because he's like, maybe I'm coming from a friend, maybe I'm not.
It's one of the darkest moments of the film, Anton. Jay's right. Because not only does he essentially withhold evidence, he completely thinks his friend murdered Carolyn and doesn't care. Doesn't care.
What does he say? Lady was bad news.
Yeah. She a bad,
like that is
she's
just
a bad
shocking.
girl, Kana-san.
Just shocking.
Yeah. But when they're having that whole thing on the ferry, you talk about a dark scene. It's darkly, it's all in the dark and the cover of the darkness. And Ford's reaction is like, oh man, pal. And he just tosses the glass. And he's like, well, wow. I guess you really think I'm capable of that. Maybe I am.
He's a cop, though. He knows anybody's capable of murder.
Well, I'm going to say, yeah, he's like, but John Spencer just has a face of jadedness anyway. And he's all jaded about all of it.
Turo said about the plot of this, quote, there were three large narrative problems to solve. Point of view, getting around the first person narrative, time sequence. It's all flashback, and Hollywood doesn't like that. And then just an awful lot of plot, end quote. I can totally see where he's coming from. I think for the most part, though, the film tackles it pretty well.
They find like beats to lead you through. And, again, they've got the actor to do that. Ford can go through all of these different machinations. And even if he shouldn't be there, like, realistically, you buy it because you want him there and he's carrying it through. And then he's just surrounded by this cast that uplifts every other scene that he's in.
Yeah, you're right. And like nothing's really wasted. Like Anton, you might have been wondering like where are they going with this B file thing? Where are they going with this trying to find this Leon guy? But it all comes together in the end. It all does tie together. They don't waste it.
And I'd only imagine that in the TV series, haven't seen it yet, but seems like there's a lot of hype around it. They go into a lot of these details a bit deeper.
Yeah, there's a lot more of that kind of stuff, but the bribery stuff plays differently in the TV show. And not the way that it does in the book or in this story, because there's something about the TV show, and I'm going to say this, and it's not a criticism, but it goes really hard out of its way to make sure that the female characters are not trampled on the way that they are in this source material and in this movie. It elevates them somewhat a little bit above it to where they're almost like disconnected from some things. So I sort of missed the whole B-file thing because the judge is a female in the TV show. And I feel like they just didn't want to go there again with that. Plus, I think too, I seem to remember one of the producers saying like, I think enough people feel like all the judges are corrupt these days. We didn't need to go down that road again, And I was like, okay, but it's sort of central to the plot, but
We can talk about Carolyn now then. I mean, who didn't she sleep with? Like, I was expecting it to be revealed like she was banging a bus driver for free fare. Like, they really paint her in a really negative light.
Yeah.
It's not that way at all in the book. It's very subtle, and she's a manipulator, but she's not this raging whore that this movie makes her out to be. And that's kind of sad because Greta Sachi's given a good performance, but the way they make her, it's hard to care about her, and that's sad.
That's what I can't figure out about this is like, why write her this way? Because there's no one alive in the film that we can really sympathize with. Even Harrison Ford, by the end, you're so sour on him, despite liking his performance. But with her, at no point are you asked to feel sorry for her, even when she's doing the good work with working with the abuse victims. Initially, we see that in the flashbacks, Anton. And it's like, well, we're supposed to like her, but then everything else she does, power hungry, parasitic, we're supposed to hate her.
Yeah, it's tough because I even wonder, how was it written, or how was it presented in a way that even at the end for audiences, do you swallow that ending a bit more? And I think it's easier for audiences if you can just look at the character who was killed in the film, look at the Carolyn character, and just say, well, I guess we'll be okay with this ending because she was a pretty terrible character anyway. So I guess we're okay.
I mean, I think the way she's written is because it's a product of when she was written. It's the late 80s, it's the early 90s. It's just sexist. It's just the truth of it. But the thing is in the book, I don't even want to call it flaws because she's making active choices to be the way she is, but you get it more. Like the reason she took on those impossible cases is because she thought, truthfully, it would be a way to make a name for herself, since I will do the job nobody wants and I will be great at it and I will skyrocket because of that. And I can, politically, I can run on that. I did the job nobody wanted, and look at all these children I saved. Vote Carolyn Palamas. I mean, like that's kind of her thing, because when you find out she leaves her husband, in the book she's got a son that he plays a much bigger role in the show. That I'm glad they reintroduced that, but she's also kind of disconnected from all of that, and you realize like she, like a lot of these other characters, is a cold person too. She's got coldness to her, and she realizes that her greatest weapon are her looks right now in her 30s. So she is going to cash all those chips until she gets to the very top. And what she didn't anticipate was that one of her ex-lovers was married to a woman who would absolutely snap on her. She never saw that coming. Barbara says it in the monologue, and it's in the book too. She had no idea. She would have never even thought that this mousy housewife mathematician would kill her.
Is this kind of writing that probably could have predicted that Game of Thrones was going to be successful as it was? Right? Because, I mean, you take away the dragons and the undead, it's the way that the characters react. It's the way that they're politically cunning. It's the way that they're manipulative. It's their ambition that really draws people in to Game of Thrones and probably to Presumed Innocent. And especially with Carolyn's character, I think you're totally right, Jay. It's the character was written in a time that makes this character type very dated. But if we think even within the context of the time, it's not a character that's aged well. But I think within the context of the story, it's moving within the system, or within the system that she knew.
It hasn't aged well, but I would say let's not pretend like there aren't men and women who are like this even to this day. I mean,
100%. I mean, that's why it's so relatable, because we've seen this story. We know it to be true.
She did her job so well. Her boss gives her eulogy at her funeral, which is quite sad.
That's so bad.
What does Raymond say about her? There's just a waste of a good-looking woman. Like, that's it?
Yeah, what a terrible thing to say.
Nobody cares that she's been murdered except Rusty, but that's only because he was lusting after. He doesn't... I was talking about this with Anton earlier today. Like, I don't get the sense that he actually loved her. He was obsessed with her, but I don't think he cared for her like that.
Oh no, he was just gross this whole film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was something he could never have attained or had, and it's definitely not what he has at home. So it's this, it's this allure, it's this forbidden fire, right? Must have. And he's so upset, and he is obsessed with her. He's completely obsessed with her. And even until long after she's gone.
As far as I know, it's the only sex scene Harrison Ford's ever done on film.
He has one in Frantic.
He has one in Frantic? Well. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a Roman Polanski?
I think so. I think Polanski did Frantic. Yeah.
Moving through the plot still, Judge Little getting this case is a major plot contrivance. It is kind of absurd.
Yeah. But how much doodah stupid luck happens in life? And you go, how did that?
It's true.
The providence, we don't know, right? And it's only after the fact that you can think oh God, that was so lucky, but it's just how it rolled, how the bones rolled that day,
No, you're right. I mean, I don't mind it in terms of the plot. It is just funny how he's connected to everything, but that's just how the story was written.
I was gonna say, I could definitely see how it can feel like a plot contrivance. I see it as this is a much more connected web than people probably interpret or people expected.
Maybe it was rigged. It was
everything seems rigged,
like the Patrick Ewing getting drafted by the Knicks in '85, like the frozen
envelope.
Yeah, the frozen envelope, maybe,
or Magic Johnson.
Maybe, we don't know. There's no way of knowing. I actually kind of enjoyed the fact that this film is a little dated because it looks and feels like something from the '70s. With how Gordon Willis shot it and how it's directed.
That's Pakula too.
Yeah.
You get the director and cinematographer combo along with the subject matter is it's straight late 70s. Yeah.
Does it feel like Jersey?
In some ways, yes, but I think that the Detroit setting is also evident. I think just because I'm sort of familiar with some of the Detroit landmarks.
I mean, it's supposed to be like nondescript Midwest.
Yeah, it's
somewhere.
It's called Kendall County, which is a fictional setting, but clearly Midwest. I mean, Raymond Horrigan.
Is Chicago as hell.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Brian Denny is just that. So.
What a moody film. Even the scenes that are shot in spring when there's green, it still comes across as wintry to me.
That's such a mood. It's the mood. I feel like
it is the mood. The score is the mood too.
Yeah.
This is technically like a B level score from John Williams, and it's still a banger.
Oh yeah, he mailed that in totally, but it's totally
fantastic. The piano.
It's like a bad Beatles album. Okay, it's still pretty listenable.
Right. Right. Like with most of Pakula's movies, exceptionally well made.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty well paced. Nothing really feels wasted to me.
Moves pretty smoothly, I mean, again, it's a movie full of a lot of people just talking. right? So how do you make that interesting? Well, you make the scenery interesting around them. You make the tension and the voices work, and that's how you get through a ton of exposition. But long before Aaron Sorkin ruined us all with the walk and talk, we could sit and talk.
It was about the moment when Rusty's free. The case has been dismissed. It just so happened, like, I think, like, I just accidentally moved like the remote control, and then the menu came on and it showed how much time was left on the film, and there was 15 minutes. So I actually had a timer in my head. I'm like, okay, is this going to feel like 15 minutes? I feel like even through the end from there, it all unraveled in such a fun way that it just matched the rest of the film, in that it was just, nothing felt long. And even just in the way in the denouement of the story, it felt very well paced.
So the case gets dismissed. We're out of the courtroom scenes, Anton. What did you think of the ending and the big twist, the reveal?
It reminds me a lot of Chinatown, and that's one of my favorite films. A lot of similarities with that film. I think something that this film helped confirm is just people in high positions of power are self-preserving, people are imperfect, and people can be disgusting. And you want to find hope, and you want to find people that can be redeemable. But it's, especially in moments like this, you just see the ugliness of people. And sometimes for these characters, it's looking in the mirror. And for Rusty's character, especially with this end, I think he's looking in the mirror a lot, whether it's talking to his friend who says, I don't care if you killed her or not, or, well, she was bad news. It's almost just damning saying that, and then finding out about his wife. It's horror movie levels.
So you like it a lot? Oh,
it is. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. As much as it put me in a tailspin emotionally, I really enjoyed it.
Jay, you've read the book. What do you think of how this movie ended?
The ending is better here than the way it comes off in the book. The book, it's all about the bar glass thing, and the way Rusty figures out, he's already figured out his wife did it sometime before. LeBranzer comes over. They may or may not be divorcing or whatever. She's not there. And he lays out for LeBranzer, here's how she did it. Here's everything we know. And I know she did it because I noticed in the evidence, chain, there was this bar glass missing, and it's exactly like ours. And holy shit, we were missing one. And here it is. And he's sitting there washing the glass out of all the evidence in the sink. And he's telling LeBranzer all this stuff. He's like, I know she did it. I know why she did it. And it's just kind of dry. Whereas here, Bonnie Bedelia comes home and she drops that line about, I fooled them all. And you think she knows he's found the weapon, but she's talking about, I got the job. And he turns around with that thing in his hand. And she's like, oh, with that thing. It's almost like she had compartmentalized it and put it away, now that the trial was over. And the way she does that scene of being so calculating and so cold and so friggin' scary at the end of it is just magical. It was a great choice to give that back to Barbara and let her tell that to him. And the way she looks at him, like, so you see, everything's fine. And he's like, oh, it's very much not Norma Bates, but okay. I think it's an improvement on it.
I think the performances from the two leads save it for me. I actually don't care for this ending. The book ending, I prefer it. However, I don't think the way it happens in the book would have worked on screen. So I understand why they changed it. Generally speaking, I'm never a fan of exposition dumps, which is what this is. But her performance is so good that it works for me. And all of Ford's nonverbal reactions to her, where he just starts crying. And it's the first time we ever see him upset about something other than the fact that he can't have Carolyn anymore. It's like, even when he's charged with murder, he's like, not that upset. But when he's sitting on the couch late at night with a scotch, thinking about what might have been with Carolyn, we see he's all broken up about that. And then when his wife is finally revealing how she did this, his reactions to it it's some of the best acting Ford's ever done.
I mean, when he's crying on the couch, looking early in the movie, when he's looking through the crime scene photos, she catches him and she's so pissed at him.
Yeah.
You can tell, but she can't say anything to him because he's upset. He's getting that same kind of he's about to cry and he's trying to, hold it back, and all this stuff, which is, again, Ford being vulnerable is an interesting thing to watch. But I think he also plays it off as the first time in the movie Rusty's actually afraid. Like when he first gets accused and he comes in to tell her, like, this might break us. Like, I don't know if we can survive this because I got to get an expensive lawyer. He looks afraid in that scene. And here at the end, he looks afraid of her, because who's to say? And the look she gives him is like, who's to say? Because it's that's all in Bonnie Bedelia and the way she just lifts those sentences up at the end, with her inflection.
Ignoring what you know about the sequel.
Yeah.
Realistically, how does a marriage survive this?
Oh, there's no way. There's no way.
It's just,
it's over.
That's part of the horror, right?
Yeah.
I said though too that Ford in his last voiceover spits a line out, and it's in the book. The line's straight out of the book, and he says it to LaPranzer, but it doesn't come off this way. But the way he spits out, I could never deprive my son of his mother. The way he says it, it's like so begrudging and angry, and just like, I'm tied to this. I'm anchored to this woman because I can't do that to my son lest he become what I am or what we are, but he's resentful of it. And the way, again, it's all in that performance, the way he just spits that line. It's like, oh, that's nasty, man. There's a cold house.
This is really an underrated, dark ending to a film. And this is such a bleak way to end a film. I don't think this film gets the credit for that. But you're right, Anton. You said this is like a horror movie ending. It really is.
It's you look down and Michael's not on the ground anymore, and here comes the piano.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Because that's what happens. The friggin' piano music comes in at the end. It's like, whoa,
If I ever have time in the future, I kind of want to check out the streaming series just because I'm so fond of this film.
It's a recommend. I'll say right now, it's totally worth it. I'll tell you both right now, don't bother with the book Innocent or the TV movie of it unless you just want to see Rusty Savage wind up in the worst place possible. But he does it to himself as a way to kind of redeem himself. So in other ways, he deserves it. But how they get there is, you think this is contrived. It's really contrived. Also, I like Bill Pullman, but he's no Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he's literally like a Kirkland brand Harrison Ford.
Like Timu Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Like that's, it's not Harrison Ford. And it's just not, it's not a great story, but what they do with Barbara in that is more like she is in the book where she's very shrill and stuff. And the way that you think they treat Carolyn bad in this one, the way they treat hers. Ugh. But if you want to know what happens to the marriage, you can spend an hour and a half and watch that sometime. It's on Prime.
I think ignorance is bliss for me.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I know there's another book I have no desire to. I read the synopsis. I was like, I don't want to know. I'm kind of good just leaving these people in their screwed up state here at the end of this. I was okay with that. But it's the performances that save the ending. I agree with you, because otherwise it is sort of
Jay, you know films probably better than I do. Does this film not get the credit it deserves for kicking off the legal thriller boom of the 90s?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's the prototype to all the things that you would fall in love with Grisham and Law and Order on television and all that stuff. All the things you like about those are here in this, and it just came and went. You got to remember, cinema too is changing a lot from 1990 to 1992, which is sort of this thing's lifespan of being in cinema, then getting to video and all that. Just everything changed, with Tarantino and all the other, indie filmmaker moves and everything else that would happen. And we got away from this kind of thing. And what we wanted our legal thrillers to be were about younger, cuter people, and that's kind of what they trade in on. And, some of the early Grisham stuff for sure.
Yeah, I think
Grisham too, as a writer, writes very cinematically, and I attribute a lot of that to the fact that he's from Mississippi, because Southern people have a way of expressing themselves, those that know how to do it, that's just unique. And he just has a way with words that Thoreau is a little more cold as an author, and it's good. It's not bad. It's just not, you don't root for people the way Grisham knew you had to have a character to root for. You had to have Jake Brigance. You had to have
Great call out.
Yeah. You got to have people to root for.
Yeah, there's always a hero in Grisham's
even
work.
If they're flawed. Like, Midge McDear's a flawed hero in the firm, but you root for Mitch.
Right.
You want him to win. And the book Mitch versus the movie Mitch, that's another day on Donahue, guys. That talk about night and day of an adaptation. Very different.
Yes.
Whereas like Time to Kill and The Client and Pelican Brief are pretty much the books, with a few changes. But The Firm is a vastly different experience because Sidney Pollack made a movie out of a story. Sidney Pollack and Stanley Kubrick are kinship. They take source material and then they make it theirs. And that's what he did with The Firm.
Yeah. And for the record, I love The Firm. I think it's a great adaptation. I love the book too, but
I agree. I love it. I use it as my prime example all the time of like, I can like both things because they exist in their own world. You know, like the book Jaws is a different experience than the movie, but it can be enjoyed nonetheless for what it is.
Yeah, Anton and I talk about this a lot with book adaptations. A movie does not have to be good or bad based on is it faithful to the source material. It's a different medium. You're making a movie. I understand we all have emotional connections to books that we love. Yeah. The only problems I have with adaptations are when they ignore good storytelling decisions from the book to the disservice of what's done in the film adaptation. I kind of like the changes that Pakula made here. I don't mind them so much. It's like I said, I think on paper the book's ending works better for me, but getting that on screen, I don't think it would have worked as well as what they did here.
If he's sitting at the table with John Spencer saying all of that stuff, it just doesn't play the same as if you have Barbara telling, you know? Because in the book, Rusty doesn't exactly know all of it. Like he just pieces enough of it together because he knows she did it. And he's told her that, and she said, yeah, so what? You know, basically, and that's it. Whereas here, she sits there and tells him, well, you drove me to really want to kill myself, but then I dreamed one night that I killed her, and I thought, that's a novel idea.
Yeah, what does she say? Then, destroy the destroyer?
Yeah, the destroyer's destroyed. Yeah. Everything's great. The way she says it, just like that.
She's nuts. It's just,
But it's a great nuts. Like, you know, sometimes the nuts woman can be like so out there that you're like, no, please, Ann Archer, shoot Glenn Close in the face.
Yeah.
You know, by the end
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
Exactly. Well, that's a hell of a performance too. But the way she plays it is so, you realize like this woman is legit insane right now. Maybe she always was, but she's broken. And this guy is the reason why. And he knows it. Yeah. Well, but that's the thing is he knows he's the reason why. You know, so would that marriage really survive? No. But it probably did because if he left, she would kill him. Literally. So I don't think that whole bit about the son, again, I think that is just pure resentment. I don't think he has any care about that. I'm trying to not get whacked too.
Bottom line, Harrison Ford gets horned up and nearly ruins his life.
He does ruin his life.
Yeah, completely ruins his life.
And he does ruin his life.
Well, and he ruins the lives of a lot of other people around him. Raymond Horrigan's life's ruined. De La Guardia's life's ruined. Molto's life's ruined. The cop, maybe not. The medical examiner's life's ruined.
Sandy comes out clean.
Sandy comes out clean because Sandy's cool. You don't get to wear suits like that unless you know how to walk away. That's a character that revisit. By the way, Thoreau has put that character in a lot of his stuff, but he's in Innocent. He's in the stuff. I mean, he's another character in that again.
But not without Raul Julia.
No, I mean, they try, but it's just not
never the same.
Nah.
So we've gone through all the notes. Anything to add before we wrap this up and give our ratings?
Just wanted to kind of touch back on seeing Harrison Ford in a role like this. And I think it's just a really fun conversation when, you know, faces become heels. It's just actors who are willing to, you know, sometimes put their careers on the line, play a villain. I think it's very, I hate to say the word brave because they're actors, but it is brave because it is, I think it doesn't always work well, but when we do see it, I think it's amazing to see, whether it's like Tom Cruise taking a villainous role and absolutely killing it. Just there are actors who don't take those same risks. And I'm just going to say, like, were there any actors that come to mind for you guys where they've delved into villainy or you'd like to see them take on more villainous roles?
I mean, the one I'll put right out now is the one who did the TV version, Jake Gyllenhaal. He'll do it.
Great call.
He's pretty good at it, too.
Yeah.
Frighteningly good at it.
Yeah, it's almost scarily. Well, you know, and Peter Skarsgård, he plays Malto in the TV show, is one that'll go there too. He'll go up and down. And I'll tell y'all right now, if you haven't seen this movie, you really should, because it's a true story. It's based exactly like how it went down. It's called Shattered Glass, and it's an incredible Hayden Christensen performance. You talk about everybody hates me for being whiny teenage Darth Vader. Well, hold my beer. I got it even worse. I'll be
I
Stephen
do hate
Glass.
him for that, yes.
It wasn't his fault, but in retrospect, that seems like a great idea now. But no, he'll go there too. But you're right. There's not many that are willing to take the chance and do it. I think Glenn Close did it as an actor. Now you talk about somebody that was willing to.
I think my answer for you, Anton, would be Denzel does it really well.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think
Training Day.
Ralph Fiennes is a great example of that, where he'll go real dark.
How can we forget Bryan Cranston, y'all? He went from the dad on Malcolm in the Middle to the meth kingpin from hell.
Yep.
Who would I like?
He basically went from Mr. Chips to Scarface.
Who would you like to see?
Who would I like to see? I wish Tom Cruise did it more. You think about something like Collateral, you're like, man, he was great in that.
Love that.
And then I guess, stuff that he did like Eyes Wide Shut, which, I wouldn't call it a villainous role, but it's pretty dark.
Yeah, I loved Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, and I just want him to go, let's fully go like bad guy for him. Just because when he was the extreme, like morally ambiguous character, I was like, this is the Adam Sandler that I'd like to see more in films, but he maybe has a few more Billy Madison sequels he has to get through.
Sadly, yeah.
Anton, have you seen that yet? Happy Gilmore 2?
Happy Gilmore 2, I did see it, yeah. It was fine.
You thought it was fine?
Yeah, it was fine, yeah.
Interesting. I don't think
it was horrible. I think it was almost at the same level of like watching Adam Sandler films in the 90s. They feel good and
that might be interesting to cover. I think it's legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I don't think it's that bad at all.
I wish I could unsee it.
Yeah.
To circle back to your question, Anton, I want to see Timothy Chalamet do this.
Okay. Yeah.
He go in a dark place. That dude can play everything.
He hasn't done it yet, right?
He has not done it yet. No.
None this dark. No. So I would love to see it. I imagine he will. He looks like the kind of person that's going to have a career.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Has Tom Hanks ever been in a villainous role?
Didn't he play a hitman on The Road to Perdition? That him?
Yeah, but he was main character.
He was more of a Ronin, like
okay.
I'm on the run.
He played
I can't
comedic.
Yeah, I can't think of
bad guy in The Lady Killers, but that was like a comedy.
It was a comedy.
Yeah,
I don't think he has.
No, I don't think so either. I'll give y'all a low key talk about forgotten performances. Early drama performance. It didn't work, so he went back to comedy for a few years. Aki Gleason's last movie, it's called Nothing in Common. It's a very complicated adult relationship movie. Hanks and Gleason go at each other in a couple of scenes in that movie, and it's just chef's kiss. It's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely I'll check it out.
Yeah, check that one out. It's Nothing in Common from 1986. It's again, just one of those forgotten movies, but boy, he's awesome in it. It's one of the first things I really saw Tom Hanks in and knew it was Tom Hanks. And it just burned in my mind. And I kept waiting for why does this guy do more drama again? And then, of course, he won all his Oscars and whatnot. But, if you see that, you watch that and you go, oh, I see all of the things that are going to make you very, very famous later.
Okay, very cool.
He's young. He's like maybe 25, 26 in that movie. He's young.
Oh, it's a super young
Hanks. Baby.
Yeah.
All right, then. Jay, as the guest, you have the opportunity to go first and give your rating, if you wish.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And thank you for having me on for this incredible discussion. It's been such a blast. I think this movie is in the top 3 things Harrison Ford's ever done. It's one of Pakula's better movies, which is saying a thing because he directed some awesome stuff. And it is the prototype to the legal thriller. If you like that thing, you need to see this movie because it has all the tropes of the legal thriller, but it's also incredibly layered, and you can just sit and mull on it, for days at a time, and I would recommend the book too. I think they're a good companion piece for each other. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's an incredible movie.
8 out of 10. If you were going to do that A to F scale, like A minus, B plus.
Yeah, I'd go A minus on that. And if I was on Film Strip, I'd give it a really big, large popcorn with lots of butter. That's how we kind of roll on that show. So yeah.
Nice. Having seen this film for the first time, it really has stuck with me. I didn't watch it with my wife, and now I really want her to watch it. I think she'd absolutely love this. I think it's just fascinating. It's amazing how much of a page turner it felt like, with the pacing, the characters, the twist at the end. It had everything that you'd really want in a film. So from the enjoyment factor, absolutely a 10 out of 10. I will definitely put this on the rewatchables list for myself. So I think it's very easy for me to just give this an A. Like it has everything that I want in a film, and it's not afraid to also be a bit more nuanced and go down some very dark themes. But it's even convinced me to go see that Presumed Innocent TV series, which I promise is not paying us to keep saying that.
But if they want to, we will take their money. Apple. So for this, I do miss this kind of film because this is no longer in vogue anymore. I know it's now a streaming series. I do kind of wish they still made these kind of films. And I know why they don't, because a lot of stuff that is in this story would not work now. Now I'm curious about the streaming series and how they updated it. I think there are some serious plot contrivances in this. I don't love the ending. And I do think it takes a bit to get going, but this is so well made and so well acted, and it's so well written and filled with just the great performances, and it's such an atypical performance from the lead, Harrison Ford. I think it is his most underrated performance. Is it his best role? I mean, no. Is it a better role than Han Solo or Indiana Jones? Like, no, of course not. But it is much more of an interesting dramatic performance. This is a very cerebral film. I don't think it's a masterpiece. This is the first time I really had to analyze it. I'm at an A- with you. It's a film I'm very fond of. You can't really call it a classic. I mean, it's a classic for me, but it's not that well remembered, it seems like. And I'm kind of disappointed by it. I wish more people would see it. I would highly encourage anyone to watch this. It's on Tubi right now. Check it out. A- for me. Well, Jay, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, gentlemen, thank you again for having me on and talking this and all the things that we've gotten into tonight. I've really enjoyed it and really enjoy your show. It's an immediate download and listen for me every week, and sometimes more than once a week. I love that when we get the extra surprises. So, but I really appreciate it, guys. It's been a real blast, and I can't wait to have you back on Film Strip again sometime soon to chop it up how we do over there.
We can't wait to come back. Thank you for those kind words. That is it for this edition of Why Wasn't It Better? That is it for Presumed Innocent. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.